All right. Sorry, I'm recording on the computer now. So that's kind of where we can see the topics on a week by week, day by day basis. And over here, you can kind of see a screenshot or a slide of like full stack development and specifically what we teach here at Code Platoon. So let's just go back. Here we have, JavaScript, HTML, CSS, Postgres, SQL, OOP, which is object-oriented programming in Python. So this is kind of the flow we go throughout the program. We kind of start with OOP, go into SQL, Postgres. We combine them two into a Django ORM. Then once we use Django ORM, we'll be utilizing the Django framework. Once we start utilizing the Django framework, we'll start plugging in third-party APIs. And throughout that, we'll be using, for the front end, we'll be using JavaScript, HTML, CSS by building vanilla front-end applications. So it's literally just raw JavaScript, HTML, CSS. And then once we do all that and do some of the Django framework and third-party APIs, we'll move on to the React framework, which is combines JavaScript, HTML, CSS into a front-end JavaScript framework. And then we combine the Django framework for the back end and React framework for the front end with a little JavaScript OOP sometimes. And once we combine the two, we actually have full stack development. So if you kind of want to get an overview of kind of like the different technology that we use, here it is. But I kind of want to really focus on daily check-ins. So every morning we want everyone to fill out a daily check-in form. This is important because we want to get a gauge of how you are feeling on a day-to-day basis of how the previous day went. So if you click here, you don't have to do it today, but starting tomorrow, you're going to give us your name, just how confident are you feeling about the previous day's curriculum, any additional feedback, how are you feeling about your progression, any additional feedback, how are you feeling overall, and then how we can make Code Platoon more enjoyable. If yesterday was a pair programming day, who was your pair programming partner, and then how well did that go? And then if you have any feedback wish to share with John or Rod, you can give your answer there. So we'll be sending out that link every morning at 8:30 for you all to fill that out before we officially start. Does anybody have any questions about the daily feedback form?
Could you post a link for the calendar, the curriculum calendar with the tables?
Yes. So yeah, I'll post that. And then again, we record all of our lectures. So classroom video lectures will be recorded and posted to YouTube. So if you literally go to Code Platoon's YouTube channel, click playlists, where is it? You can see all the different playlists from Lima Platoon week 10, Lima Platoon week 9, week 8, and we even go down to Kilo Platoon, Juliet Platoon, all the way down to India. So if I wanted to see what Kilo Platoon week 1, I can click a full playlist. I can click in there. And then it's broken down by week 1, day 1, what we went over, InstallFest, and it's 1 of 4 videos for week 1, day 1. So InstallFest, week 1, day 1, video 2 of 4, week 1, day 1, the command line, 3 of 4, week 1, day 1, IDE, 4 of 4. And then week 1, day 2, week 1, day 2, week 1, day 4. Must have missed some there. Does anybody have any questions about? So you can actually get ahead if you want to look at previous cohorts, what they were doing on that specific week and day. Does anybody have any questions about the video links in YouTube? And then we're going to cover this, how to submit your work for review. Again, once you're done with everything, if you happen to finish everything in a single day, continue working through Code Wars. There's just other great website called Pramp, which is like practice interviewing. It's really good, but Code Wars is definitely worth doing. All right. And we'll be posting videos, the links to the YouTube in the Mike Slack channel. All right. Does anybody have any questions so far? All right. Close that, close that. So week 1, day 1. Let's start with VS Code. So we went through all this stuff, InstallFest. Now let's talk about VS Code. What is VS Code? I said it before earlier.
An IDE.
Yes, an IDE. What does that stand for?
Integrated development environment.
Yep. So an IDE is essentially all the different aspects to write and deploy code, etc. But VS Code is literally kind of just like a text editor. You've been using text editors, Google Sheets, WordPress, or not WordPress, Microsoft Word, and everything. And this is the main text editor we're going to be using. There's other text editors out there like Sublime, Atom, Vim, but VS Code is, I don't know if it's the most popular, but I wouldn't be surprised if it is, but it's increasingly becoming more and more popular. Because of one thing specifically is all the extensions. But before we do that, so if you see here, you can write and execute code in the browser. For us, we're going to use VS Code or the VS Code terminal to execute our code. But we're going to actually customize our VS Code settings. So what we're going to want to do is in VS Code, in the settings, so if you go up to Code, Preferences, Settings, up here, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And then, so I'm in the settings of VS Code, where it literally opened a file called Settings. If I come over here to the upper right-hand corner, there's a sheet of paper with an arrow that kind of says like rotate it. We can open the settings in JSON format. So if I click that, it opens up with this, what looks like code, but it's really not code. It's JavaScript object notation. It has all these settings. Go ahead and copy and paste all these settings into that specific file. So you can go ahead and follow along. Go to Code, Preferences, Settings, click the little rotating paper in the upper right-hand corner, and then you can copy and paste those settings in there. Is anybody having difficulty finding the settings?
It already has some coding there. Should we just override it?
Yep. Now these settings just make things easier for us to read. Like the font size is 14. You can change that if you want. Multi-cursor modifier. We have a gutter. We have a tab size. So like if you press tab, how many spaces does it go over? It's 2. Word wrap is on. So after it, if you type for so long, there'll be like a gutter that will like automatically make things go to the next line. We have autosave, on focus change. This is a lifesaver. Essentially, every time your window is no longer focused, so if you click out off the screen, it's going to save that file. Majority of bugs that happen is because people don't save the code. So they'll make a change to the code, they'll try to run it, and they realize it's not working, and they're like, why isn't it working? It's because you forgot to save it. So this autofocus change will resolve a lot of frustration and potentially hours upon hours of debugging.
Hey, Tom, I'm in VS Code settings. Yeah, how do I open up that JSON?
So if I'm over here in settings right here,
Mhm.
in the upper right-hand corner up here, there's this little piece of paper with an arrow that says open settings JSON. If you click on that, it should open up in JSON format.
So we can just override everything, or do we need to add to the?
No, you can override everything. It's fine. I have some additional settings in here from probably some extensions I installed earlier, but you can see kind of everything in here.
So I had some extensions that just changed the color of my font to sync up with a Udemy course I was doing. So that will just overwrite the old font colors.
Yeah, unless you want to keep those old font colors, you can if you'd like to.
Yeah, I'd rather just have the same as the class. Hard to follow along.
Yep. All right. Next, the reason why VS Code is so popular is because of third-party extensions, kind of like apps. They're almost like apps, but they're extensions. Like if you've heard of Chrome extensions, you can create a Chrome extension and have someone download it, and you'll have a Chrome extension in your Chrome web browser, and it can do certain stuff that that specific Chrome extension wants to do. It's also, if you think of like an app store, like you can have third-party people develop apps, and now it can do stuff on your phone. Same thing with VS Code. So over here, so when I open up VS Code for the first, let's open it up and let's kind of do like a walkthrough of VS Code. So if I open up VS Code for the first time, it says untitled one. That's fine. It means it's just like an untitled file. There's no file extension. Up in the upper left-hand corner, this is like your Explorer tab. So this is what file directory you're currently located in. Right now, I'm not actually located in any file. So I don't have any file folders open yet or anything like that. Here it says open editors. The untitled one right here, that means that one's open already. If I scroll down here to search, I can search for certain things in my code base that's already open within this text editor. Next, we have source control. So if your project file, or if your project is has Git installed and you've got different repositories, or if you have pushed up to GitHub before, this is like Git version control, but via VS Code. You don't really have to worry about this right now. So we have a way we can run stuff. But the main thing we want to look at is right down here in extensions, this little 3 square blocks with one kind of in the upper right-hand corner, kind of like leaving. It's almost like a puzzle. So if we click on extensions, we can see all these extensions that are available to us. And I've got a bunch, these are all the extensions I have installed. Babel, Beautify, Docker, Excel Viewer, all this. This is all third-party extensions installed on VS Code to make my life as a developer easier. It's crucial. You're going to be so much more efficient if you install some of these extensions. So here are the extensions that you'll want to install to make your life easier. So we can install Sublime Text Key Map and Settings Importer. So if I literally just copy that, go into search settings, it's this first one. If I click on that, so Sublime Text Key Map and Settings Importer, you can tell if they're good extensions by how many people have downloaded them. So over 1.1 million people have downloaded this one. And if it's not installed yet, you should see like a green install button right here, or a blue install button. And you can install it and it should already be installed. And then it should be installed. If you want to know more about it, so key mapping extension supports the most popular Sublime Text keyboard shortcuts to Visual Studio Code. So Sublime Text is another text editor, and in there they've got really cool shortcuts, keyboard shortcuts, and this extension essentially maps those same keyboard shortcuts to VS Code. So if I
downloaded it, it asks, would you like to customize VS Code to behave more like Sublime Text? Is that a yes or no?
you can say yes.
Okay.
So that's that one. We have Beautify. So if I search Beautify right here, Beautify JavaScript essentially makes your JavaScript look really pretty. Beautify. Let's see, I'm going to open up a new window. CD. Kind of show you some stuff. So a lot of this stuff is Beautify, like makes things really easy to read, the colors and everything. Next, let's look at what else. We have VS Code icons. So VS Code icons, where is it? Right here. So over 6.1 million people have downloaded it. It creates different icons based off what type of file you have. So normally, all the files would kind of look the same, but because of different file extensions, you can kind of see right here, this is an example. This is a project I've been working on. You can see like a folder looks like a folder. If it's a JavaScript file, it's got JS. If it's a git ignore, it's got these weird different icons, Babel, server, npm. These are all the different icons. Kind of makes things a little bit easier visually speaking from an organization standpoint. Next, you want bracket pair colorizer. This is a really, this is a really good one. Essentially, if you're working in JavaScript and you're having a bunch of brackets, you can see which brackets match up with the closing bracket, like which opening bracket matches up with which closing bracket. See, like right here, you have this open bracket and the corresponding closing bracket. It's color coded. So this one's yellow, like pink or purple or whatever, and like this one in this if statement, it's blue. So it's easier to match up. So if you want to go around and install all these Path IntelliSense. So auto completes file names. Preview on web server, Python. So just go down all these. This is a Python linter, which it just makes it tells you when there are errors in your syntax in Python. It helps a bunch of things. It just it'll make you be a more efficient Python developer. And then the last one, or the main one, is this LiveShare. So right here, LiveShare is a collaboration tool. So when you're pair programming or want to show someone your code and want them to collaborate on it, this allows two people to work in the same IDE together at the same time. So I would highly recommend downloading or installing LiveShare and LiveShare Audio. LiveShare Audio, I think they're still working out some kinks to it, but yeah, but definitely LiveShare. And once you install all of them, specifically LiveShare, you'll see another thing show up, like under extensions, you'll see this part right here, LiveShare. And if I clicked, let's hold on. Let's see something real quick. Don't worry about what I just did. I just created a folder. So if I wanted, Noah, you want to do a quick demo of?
Yep.
All right. LiveShare.js. So I just created a file. Don't worry about it. We'll kind of cover this again later. If I wanted Noah and I to collaborate on this LiveShare JavaScript file, I can click LiveShare and then start collaboration session and sign in. Let's see if this works. So you kind of have to be authorized. What is this URL? So invitation link, copy to clipboard, send it to anyone you trust, or click more info. So I'm going to copy again, and I'm going to Slack Noah. Where is it? So I'm in here. I'm going to Slack Noah that link.
Then I just click on it.
Hopefully everything works. So right here, it's like suggested contacts, recent contacts, so people you've invited to previously to collaborate with.
It can take a little while to connect, but
yeah. And you could make it read only and like give them people access to other things.
all right, it's asking me to sign in the
Okay.
same way it asked Tom, so I'm going to do that with sign in with GitHub.
So how you can download.
I'm sorry?
I think it was someone's background noise.
Oh, okay.
And it's signing in. Noah. So now I'm just kind of, see like right here it says Noah Heinrich, join the collaboration session. So now you can see Noah. I'm going to say like console log. Oh, geez, what's going on? And there's me. Hi, Noah. And like I can do like console log. Hi. Stuff like that. So that's how you can collaborate using VS Code LiveShare. And this is what you're going to be using when you're pair programming a lot. Does anybody have any questions about the VS Code extensions and LiveShare?
I actually have one. When I tried to download the Python extension, it's saying you've selected the Mac OS system, install Python, which is not recommended for use with the Python extension. Some functionality will be limited. Please select a different interpreter.
What does it say? It just says, please select a different interpreter.
Yeah, it says functionality will be limited, but then it gives me the options: do not show again or select Python interpreter.
Is the Python interpreter the same one that you installed?
I'm not sure, but here, I can copy and paste the messages.
I would just go ahead and do it because like I've got it installed and I've never ran into any issues. Did anyone else see that? And we can take a look at it later.
Yeah,
as well.
I see that as well.
Okay.
Glad I'm not alone.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions about LiveShare? All right. Cool. Now I can cancel this. Exit out. So it said I closed that out. No, did you leave the collaboration session?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. So Noah left. Now it says Noah left the collaboration session. All right. So what else? So again, VS Code. We already did that. Did a little quick demo. Let's go over. All right, we're going to come back to here in a little bit, but yeah, what is it, 58? All right, let's go ahead and take a 5-minute break or 7-minute break. Be back at 2:05, and then we're going to get going.